Phil, we have our legal analysts coming in on a Friday night for us. Thank you much, guys. We have Judge George Schiavelli, defense attorney Mark Haushalter, former prosecutor and current defense. You like when I point that out, don't you, Anthony?
I do.
He's been on both sides. Okay, guys, what do we take away from today, Anthony?
I think the defense did some key things it needed to do. It needed to establish an alternative cause for Michael's death, and that is Michael himself being the cause of his own death. That's a key aspect of the defense
We
case.
had to see how this could have happened.
We had to get some evidence of that possibility, and essentially through this doctor, he established that according to the facts, we know certain things. There's evidence here that's unaccounted for in the people's case. Therefore, it must have came from Michael himself.
Plant the seed of doubt.
Mark, do you think he did an effective job of that?
Not enough and way too late.
Okay.
You can see me, I'm trying to hold back right here with Anthony.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, no, Anthony's wrong on this one. I love you, Anthony, but you're wrong. What it is flat out. Was he effective? Yes, but what did he not touch? He didn't get into those 17 tenets that Dr. Schaefer brought in, saying each by itself caused Michael Jackson's death.
Well, that's not accurate, though. That's not accurate.
Oh, that is accurate.
He didn't say
Anthony.
Those 17 things caused Michael Jackson's
Each
death.
of itself.
No, he said each of those things were gross negligence. Causation's a different issue, and that's what the defense is going to. Those won't matter if the doctor wasn't the cause of Michael Jackson's death and his own actions were. Those wouldn't matter.
The whole prosecution's case is about abandonment.
Okay, right, and let's tell the viewers, though.
I'm going to defer to Your Honor. Judge Schiavelli, what do you say about this?
Well, first of all, I've heard that Conrad Murray is actually going to have as his next witness David Freese.
Oh, you want to get in a baseball line?
Had to do it.
To hit it out
Had to give one
He
shot
has to hit it out of the park because no one else has, right?
I think it's important right now to be thinking in terms of the jury instructions. From the defense standpoint, I think the day was a success. What they're trying to do, remember, you rarely are going to have a situation where the defense blows the prosecution completely out of the water. What you want to do is shoot holes in the boat.
Right.
Enough holes that you get to reasonable doubt. And so what they're doing here, they've got two highly competent, well-recognized experts in the field of anesthesiology, propofol, all of that, who can't agree. Now, the jurors will get an instruction that says they can give whatever weight they want to the experts, they can disbelieve them, they can believe one over the other. But what the defense is I think, counting on here, is that when the jury gets into the deliberations, they're going to say, if these two remarkably competent experts can't figure it out, boy, that sounds like doubt to me.
Mark, let me ask you, is he shooting the holes in the testimony with a BB gun or with a sawed-off shotgun?
I think a BB gun.
Okay.
Judge, will you agree with that on that? Will you give it to me?
You can have the BB gun.
All right, I got the BB gun. The other thing that I thought was super powerful in this testimony of Schaefer was you're in charge of every drop of propofol in that room. And they didn't touch that. The defense did not touch it. I agree with Anthony that they did address the causation issue, but the prosecution was aware of that, and what'd they do? They went with the theory of abandonment.
See, you're getting into that list, which I wanted to point out to our viewers. That list is things like not keeping medical records, not having an adequate backup system in the case of an emergency. So you're getting back to the idea that the fact that propofol was there in the house in the first place could be the problem. Thoughts, Anthony?
Well, here's the thing. It was interesting to watch the defense not address the doctor directly about that list, not ask him to go through and say, how about this? Was this gross negligence or not? What's interesting about that is I suspect Dave Walgren on cross-examination is going to go right down that list, and he's going to hammer away at that list. If I was the prosecutor, I would. But you always have to be mindful if the defense, in preparing this case, if they do one thing right in this case, maybe it's setting a trap. Maybe Dr. White is fully prepared on that list, and rather than the defense going through that list and trying to make it look like it's tit for tat on every issue, they've laid in wait, and hopefully Dr. White, for their sake, is prepared to address those things.
I think that's probably right. I think the defense has figured what's probably going to be influencing the jury is they want to know who injected the propofol. All the other 17 or whatever may be just window dressing. But I think that's true that Dr. White has got to be prepared to deal with those if he gets that on cross-examination. And the other part of this is the jury instructions on involuntary manslaughter can also and probably will include the issue of duty. There's a physician-patient relationship. If there is a reckless disregard of that duty such that death is probable and death occurs and a reasonable person would have foreseen that death, that's another form of involuntary manslaughter.
But there is a patient responsibility aspect in this, which they could also point out that Michael Jackson had some personal responsibility about the way he was behaving, what he was ingesting, and what he might have done to himself.
Right, but the instructions will indicate it doesn't need to be the sole cause of death. It merely needs to be a significant cause of the death. And plus, the question of whether Michael Jackson could have injected himself or would have if given the chance was something that by then Dr. Murray should have foreseen, and a reasonable person in that position should have foreseen.
We'll have more when we come back. I just really love how respectful and quiet we are when the judge speaks. Yet we yell with our
He commands it. No, he commands it.
A lot of training from us.
Without the rope, he still has the power. All right, speaking of the power of Dr. Paul White's testimony.
There is now a question as to whether or not propofol was actually the medication that killed Michael Jackson.
Where this leaves the prosecution and the defense. More with our legal expert, Robin Sachs, coming up.
The Michael Jackson